Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with a Kingdom Come Deliverance news update. Often when discussing KCD, we can draw a lot of positives out of it, but the most common source subject with this title is the bugs. There are a decent amount of them and they do impact player experience, barring people from really falling fully in love with this game. Fortunately, Warhorse Studios is patching these bugs, but I thought this article was very transparent and highlighted how the developers feel about the time they had to develop Kingdom Come Deliverance. It will be linked in the description down below, and it is titled Kingdom Come Deliverance, I wish we had more time to polish the game before release. KCD is an attempt of bridging the two. It is an indie game at heart, more hardcore, more demanding, more fierce, but with the visuals and production values of a AAA game. I freely admit though that I wish we had more time to polish the game before the release. That's what AAA games deserve. Now I know the first thing a lot of us are going to think is, well, that's a lot of talk, that's a lot of fluff because the product didn't show it. I think we can all agree AAA games should be patched, but often enough those are the ones that release with the most bugs. Despite Kingdom Come Deliverance being a full price game which costs the same to buy as the other new releases, Klima doesn't like the comparison to AAA industry that panders to a casual and absent-minded player. I don't see KCD as competing with the likes of Assassin's Creed or Shadow of War, he added. We simply don't have the resources to create a game like that. I don't view us as an indie game either though. The trend I see in real AAA games, like the ones I mentioned above, is toward making games more and more forgiving, better suited to the more casual and absent-minded players. They are games that in effect are playing themselves, so you have all those different markers, prompts, and handy hints that you never have to think about what to do next. This is not entirely wrong. I can see why companies that make these games take this approach, and obviously there's a demand for it as evidenced by the sales of these games. So what Klima's saying here is he's not dissing on the AAA industry, he's more so saying that based off that trend and what those games are doing and what he sees in most AAA games, it's not what his game is doing where it would be dignified as a AAA game in any way. And I think this is commonly known for people who have played Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's not a game that holds your hand, it's very much a hardcore style RPG. You have to figure out things for yourself and there's a lot to balance within the title. So he's not really dissing on anyone for playing those games, he's more so saying that they're two totally separate things. Here's where we get into some interesting stuff. Klima admitted it's been a tough development project for Warhorse Studios over 6 years, but the majority of the team has remained together and committed to the final game. I certainly did my share of poor decisions and blunders, he said. We have wasted time and energy on things that we eventually had to abandon. We had to crunch a lot this last year. So for those who don't know what game crunch is, it's exactly what it could sound like. It's a lot of additional hours. You're probably sleeping at work, you're not taking bathroom breaks, you're not focusing on your personal health and putting everything you've got into this game to get it out by the deadline. Sadly, a lot of developers fall into this hole of crunch time where they put a lot of overtime into it. Game development is not easy. So seeing that this game had a lot of crunch time, I mean, it really does hurt a little bit if you think about it. It does seem though that Klima is the optimist. However, I believe that we did some right things too. We had a remarkably low team turnover, only about 30 developers have left over the 6 years of development, so I presume that people, if they not actually like working for Warhorse, at least put up with it. We create an open and friendly environment where everyone can speak up their mind. And in the end, we managed to cook the pudding, and that's something, isn't it? As in, the game didn't get canceled. So yes, that is actually a remarkably low turnover. Usually when we see these big games released, we often see an article weeks later saying that X studio has suffered from various layoffs, but we haven't seen that with Kingdom Come Deliverance, most likely because they've been hard at work on the game after launch, and on top of that, it's actually been selling pretty well. Furthermore, I think that what Klima says has some truth to it. The developers are clearly passionate about the title they are working on and want to stick with it. I was actually very surprised to see this soon after the launch of the game that they wanted more time on development. But Kingdom Come Deliverance was in an interesting situation. With its launch in February, it was completely isolated. Monster Hunter World had already been out for a decent amount of time, so had Dragon Ball FighterZ. Nothing really significant comes out until late March. Kingdom Come Deliverance had its time to breathe, gain a lot of traction and attention, and then explode, which it actually did despite being a somewhat buggy title. I think that is why they decided to get it out of the door instead of delaying it a couple of months where things could get a little more busy. Furthermore, like the article highlights, it's been a 6-year journey. It's time to just get it out, get some feedback from the fans, and then make the proper adjustments and make it the best game you can, because that's how game development works a lot of the time now. Anyway, I found this article very interesting and I wanted to share it with you guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments down below, so fire away. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.